My life feels like a broken kaleidoscope. At the age of 28, I find myself questioning everything I once believed about the bonds of family. My name is Emma Johnson. Until yesterday, I was leading a simple yet peaceful life. However, that peace shattered into pieces when my stepsister, Becky, stormed into our home. To understand this incident, we need to go back 20 years. When I was 8, our happy family life fell apart. The morning began with my mother's usual smile. She sent my father and me off with a cheerful, "Have a good day." I left the house saying, "See you later." But that turned out to be the last exchange I would have with my mother. Who could have imagined that the mother who waved goodbye that morning would never come back? She was involved in a traffic accident while on her way to the store. When I received the news, I was standing in front of my teacher's desk. The moment I saw my aunt breaking down in the staff room, I realized that something irreversible had happened. In the years that followed, the life my father and I led felt like walking through fog. My father threw himself into his work to distract from his grief, and my care was mostly left to my nanny and relatives. My father often came home after I had gone to sleep. I remember seeing him late at night. The image of him standing alone at the kitchen table with an empty whiskey glass is still vivid in my memory. During that time, my daily routine was going back and forth between school and the library. I immersed myself in the world of books to escape the loneliness of reality. One of my favorites was Anne of Green Gables. I saw myself in the story of the orphan Anne finding happiness with a new family. In the spring, when I turned 10, my father made a shocking announcement. He had decided to remarry. His partner was Patty Hill. She was a cheerful woman who worked at the cosmetics counter in a department store. On the day we first met, Patty greeted me with a kind smile. She brought me a deluxe edition of A Little Princess, my favorite book. I genuinely believed that she would make a wonderful mother. Patty was always considerate. She gave me books I liked and cute hair accessories, and she never missed a school event. However, this happy time did not last long. After the wedding, Patty's child, Becky, joined our household. Becky was in the same grade as me. Since her birthday came later in the year, she became my younger stepsister. From that moment, my life changed significantly. Becky was like the sun. Bright, active, and full of confidence, she naturally drew people to her. She was the complete opposite of me, an introverted bookworm. Initially, I was excited about having a sister. Having grown up an only child, the prospect of sharing secrets and staying up late talking seemed like a dream. I believed we could become best friends, like Diana and Anne in Anne of Green Gables. But that dream quickly crumbled. Soon after moving in, Becky made her first move. She claimed she needed a larger bedroom because she was anxious about the new environment. My room had the best view of the garden and had been my cherished space since childhood. I protested to my father, but his response was unexpected. "Can you consider Becky's request? It might help her adjust to the new environment." This was the first instance where my father prioritized Becky's needs over mine. But it certainly wasn't the last. As time passed, Becky's true nature gradually became clear. My belongings would accidentally break, or my clothes and books would be borrowed without permission. One incident I can't forget is when the silver locket necklace, the last birthday present from my mother, disappeared. Days later, I found one of Becky's friends wearing it. I appealed to my parents, but Becky skillfully played the victim. "I thought Emma had given it to me," she explained tearfully. Her clever excuse was that I was jealous and trying to disrupt the harmony of our new family. My father was distraught, wondering why we couldn't get along. Becky's influence even extended to our school life. Her popularity became a sinister force that continued to torment me. While she invited the entire grade to her birthday parties, I was the only one excluded. "It must have been an oversight," Patty said, but it was clear that it was intentional. At that time, neither my father nor Patty said anything to comfort me. When I was 13, I joined the school choir. Singing was one of my few escapes. I stayed after school every day to practice, and I was finally given a solo part in the spring concert. But my joy was short-lived. Becky suddenly showed interest in the choir as well. She had a natural talent. With her clear, beautiful voice, she quickly gained the teacher's trust. The solo part one had been practicing for weeks was swiftly given to her. "Becky is more suited for it," the teacher said. I was pushed to the back row, forced to sing in Becky's shadow. Even during practice at home, Becky would mock my singing and make exaggerated imitations, making everyone laugh. My father laughed and said, "Well, if Becky is more suited for it, then it can't be helped." I remember my heart freezing at those words, but I practiced every day. As I started to say this with a trembling voice, Patty suddenly became stern. "Emma, can't you just admit it? It's natural that there are differences in talent. Becky was born with a musical gift. But stop dragging others down. It's Becky's chance to shine. As her older sister, you should be supporting her." My father nodded in agreement. "That's right. Be thankful that Becky is singing instead." That night, I quietly cried in my room. From the hallway, I could hear Becky and Patty happily practicing singing together. Sometimes they would laugh together, including imitations of me. The next day, the practice at home increased. Every time Becky sang in the living room, Patty would praise her with a beaming smile. "That's wonderful." Whenever I was nearby, Becky would always insert an imitation of my singing. We have to make sure not to end up like Emma. Each time, my parents just watched with a pleased look. Sometimes, my father would even say, "Emma should take a lesson." My existence was merely a shadow to highlight Becky. This wasn't limited to singing, it extended to my school life and my position at home. From then on, I gradually began to retreat into my shell. At school, I became a shadow-like presence, spending most of my breaks in the library. It was the only place safe from Becky's influence. When I was 15, I made a critical mistake. I confided a secret to Becky. It was about my feelings for a classmate, Alex Ford. Alex was funny and kind, and even under Becky's influence, he was one of the few who talked to me normally. We were together in the library committee, and I gradually developed feelings for him. One night, unusually, Becky spoke to me kindly. Desperate for a sisterly conversation, I let my guard down. "I like Alex." I confided my long-held feelings to my stepsister, who had approached me with unusual kindness. "Don't worry, I'll support you." I still vividly remember how Becky's eyes mischievously sparkled when she said that to me. I had no idea that this confession would lead to the most humiliating experience of my life. The next morning, Becky told me, "Alex said he wants to talk to you," and instructed me to wait for him in the cafeteria. I prepared more carefully than usual that day. I brushed my hair repeatedly and neatly arranged the pleats of my uniform skirt. As lunchtime approached, my heartbeat accelerated. The mixture of anticipation and nervousness as Alex approached in the crowded cafeteria. Instead of spending my usual lunch break in the library, I ventured into the unusually busy cafeteria, already feeling the stares. Normally, my classmates wouldn't bother with someone like me, but now they looked on as if expecting something. "Oh, Emma." I heard a familiar voice and turned around to see Alex. His usual kind smile was there, but something felt off. Behind him were Becky and her entourage. "Everyone, listen." Alex's voice echoed through the cafeteria. My heart pounded violently. It seems there's a rumor that Emma and I like each other. At that moment, it felt as if time had stopped. This is all Becky's prank. "I don't see you that way. I'm sorry." His voice was kind, but his words cut through my heart like a knife. Laughter erupted around us. "I thought so," someone said, and another whispered, "It's the library committee's loner." Becky looked apologetic, but her eyes were laughing. Even now, the laughter from that moment sometimes haunts my nightmares. I wanted to run away, but my body wouldn't move. Eventually, someone said, Poor thing, and that was the trigger that finally got me moving. I don't remember running to the library. When I realized it, I was trembling in the back seat, trying to escape into Anne of Green Gables as usual, but I couldn't read through the tears. After school, I was called to the staff room. "Why did you skip class?" my teacher asked, but I couldn't answer. However, it was even harder when I tried to talk to my parents at home. Becky had already made her move. With exaggerated tears, she explained, "I just wanted to create a chance for her to talk to the guy she likes." She claimed it was all a misunderstanding and that I was distorting the facts to ruin her reputation. "It was all with good intentions," Patty said, rubbing Becky's back as she spoke. My father agreed. "If you were more proactive like Becky, these misunderstandings wouldn't happen." Their words felt like physical violence, wounding me. High school life was filled with further pain. Despite getting caught drinking at a party, Becky got her driver's license before me and was allowed to use the family car freely. When I wanted to borrow the car for a school project, I was told I wasn't responsible enough. When Becky's grades dropped, it was excused because she was busy with clubs and social life. But when my grades fell, I was scolded for not trying hard enough. Even our achievements were treated differently. When Becky became a cheerleader, they threw a celebration party with our relatives. When I won a county essay contest, all I got was a light pat on the back and a "well done." At 18, I used college as an escape, going as far away as possible to a school in Los Angeles from New York. The move meant more than just physical distance, it was the first step towards mental independence. College life marked a new beginning. Freed from Becky's influence, I slowly began to reclaim myself. I studied diligently in the literature department and lived independently while working part-time. However, it wasn't a complete liberation. I kept family interactions to a minimum, but Becky still took every opportunity to throw subtle digs about my appearance and college life. A turning point came during my senior year. Struggling with job hunting and feeling uncertain about the future, I attended a special lecture in the literature department, Family Images in Modern Literature. The lecturer that day was the up-and-coming author David Owen. I deeply resonated with his works depicting complex family relationships. After the lecture, we met by chance in the library and passionately discussed literature. He listened sincerely to my opinions and engaged me in equal debate, sometimes with sharp counter-arguments. It was the first time someone had truly heard the voice I'd suppressed for years. It was also a time filled with intellectual stimulation. This encounter led to David inviting me to his research lab. Initially, our discussions focused on literature, but gradually personal topics increased. One rainy evening, I shared my family story for the first time. The psychological abuse from my stepmother and stepsister, my father's indifference. After I finished, David broke a long silence and said, "That's abuse, Emma." His words unlocked something inside me. He continued, "Why don't you try writing a novel about your experiences someday?" His suggestion held more than just creative advice. He recognized a talent within me that I hadn't seen. After graduating, I landed a job at a local publishing house. Working in the proofreading department was modest but provided valuable insight into the bookmaking process. David and I started meeting on weekends. Under his guidance, I began writing a novel alongside my job. My early writing was clumsy, but he patiently edited my work. "You have talent. I believe it's my role to nurture it." His words warmed my heart. Gradually, David and I grew closer, and eventually we began dating. About 6 months into our relationship, a significant turning point occurred. David's new book, Afternoon of Reminiscence, was finally selected for a prize. From there, my life changed dramatically. As the girlfriend of a famous author, I even started appearing in weekly magazines. There were also spiteful calls from Becky. "Isn't this just a publicity stunt?" At one point, I considered giving up on my relationship with David. However, David protected me more than ever before. You are the source of my creativity. I never want to let you go." The proposal came in an unexpected way. It happened on the day my debut novel, Memories Within, won a Newcomers Award in a literary magazine. After the award ceremony, David took me to his research lab. There, I found a notebook he had kept since the day we met, in which he had written down our conversations. "From the moment I met you, I knew I wanted to weave stories with you." He had prepared a surprise ring. It resembled the pearl ring from my favorite novel, Anne of Green Gables. "Will you join me, not just as fellow writers, but as partners in life?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. As expected, my father and Patty's reaction to our marriage announcement was predictable. "Can you really lead a stable life with a writer? Isn't there someone better out there?" Meanwhile, Becky openly scowled. "I can't believe you got married before me." But I was no longer the old me. Through my life with David, I had learned my own worth and gained the strength to assert my opinions. I decide my own life. Our wedding was small but heartwarming. David's parents welcomed me as if I were their own daughter. During our vows, David said, "We understand and accept each other's stories and create new ones together. That's what our marriage means to us." After getting married, we bought a house in the suburbs of New York. David gave me a present. It was a high-performance security camera system. "For your protection, and for the family we're going to build together." I felt a profound love in his precaution. I resigned from the publishing house and began my path as a full-time writer. David remained my first reader and my most critical critic. Although we occasionally clashed in opinions, we accepted it as part of the creative process. Your words have a special power. It's my job to bring that out to its fullest. We spent our days side by side at our desks, reading each other's manuscripts and discussing late into the night. These days were our happiness. I, who had suffered from a distorted family, had found a new kind of family. One where we elevated and supported each other. Our story was sure to be beautiful. I was certain of this until that day came. The day Becky came to destroy our peaceful life. I was in my home office, working on a new novel concept. David was out at a meeting with his publisher, and I was alone at home. When the doorbell rang, I instinctively felt something bad was about to happen. The monitor showed Becky, disheveled and dirty, a far cry from her usual self, holding a suitcase. "Open up, I need to talk to you." Her voice was tired and slightly hoarse. When I didn't respond, she suddenly began kicking the potted plants at the entrance. I deserved to be happy too. Startled by the noise, I went to check and saw her trying to break the lock with some tool. Just as I was about to call the police, I heard the door open. She had used a spare key to enter, an oversight from when I hadn't reclaimed the key previously entrusted to Patty. "Why did you get married before me? Why do you get to be happy? I've been fired from my job, kicked out by my boyfriend. I've lost everything." Becky stormed into the living room, screaming. I could see a few days' worth of clothes packed in her suitcase. She smashed the vases and threw books from the shelves onto the floor. I watched in dismay as my manuscripts and David's documents scattered. "I'll destroy everything. Your happy life is a sham. I don't even have a place to return to." Then she noticed my wedding album. The moment she started tearing the pages, something in me snapped. "Stop!" As I tried to stop her desperately, Becky pushed me. I hit my head against the wall, nearly losing consciousness. Then I heard the front door open. "Emma!" It was David's voice. He had returned early from his meeting, quickly grasped the situation, and restrained Becky. Soon after, the police arrived. Becky was arrested for trespassing and property damage. David had installed the security cameras both inside and outside our home, thinking something might happen given his status as a popular author. I thought it was necessary to protect you." His judgment was indeed correct. The cameras meticulously recorded everything from Becky's intrusion to her acts of violence. Without hesitation, David and I decided to file both criminal charges and a civil lawsuit. A skilled lawyer, a friend of David, agreed to take our case. The footage from the security cameras will serve as decisive evidence. Additionally, if we can substantiate the past abuse, it will strengthen the grounds for our claim for damages. Initially, my father and Patty tried to intervene. They even suggested that it should be settled quietly, since it was a family matter. However, David responded firmly. "This is a crime. It's necessary to resolve this properly, including the long-term abuse Emma suffered." At the courtroom, Becky suddenly portrayed herself as a victim. "I suffered too. I was lonely. I've been living with my mother since I was born." However, the security camera footage eloquently spoke the truth. Her premeditated intrusion, random acts of destruction, and the violence against me. Why Becky had become so desperate was revealed during the trial. While working at a major advertising agency, Becky, known for her high pride and often domineering attitude towards her superiors, ignored all advice and made repeated errors in a crucial client campaign. The client, furious, terminated a contract worth several $1,000,000. The company suffered losses, and Becky was fired immediately. She had also been living with her boyfriend for 2 years but was kicked out on the day she was dismissed, after demanding expensive gifts and frequently sulking if not taken to high-end restaurants. It seems her unemployment was the last straw for him. After losing both her job and her home, she considered returning to her parents' home and called Patty, but her pride prevented her from disclosing her dismissal and breakup. These events drove Becky to the edge, leading her to try to destroy my happy life. Additionally, I submitted records of the years of abuse, diaries, photographs, testimonials. All supported my claims. As the trial progressed, David suggested something. "Why don't you turn your life story into a novel?" Initially hesitant, I found that writing helped me organize my thoughts little by little. Facing my trauma and putting it into words, I felt my emotional wounds gradually healing. David meticulously edited my manuscripts. Under his guidance, the story was refined. The manuscript submitted to the publisher received more attention than expected. This work will resonate with many people. True to the editor's words, The Broken Kaleidoscope garnered significant attention. The story, which depicted abuse within the family and the healing of emotional wounds, resonated with many readers. The trial ended with a complete victory for us. In addition to criminal penalties for Becky, she was ordered to pay a substantial amount in damages. In the judgment, the judge acknowledged the fact of the long-term psychological abuse I had suffered. This marked a significant turning point in my life. Following the verdict, my father and Patty deeply reflected on their actions. My father especially admitted his weakness in not protecting me and apologized. "It's all my fault. I ignored the signs and ran away. I'm truly sorry." These were the words I had been waiting for years to hear. 1 year after the judgment, I gave birth to my first child. "I want to give this child a loving environment." David quietly nodded beside me. "We will make sure of it." My father also changed. Prompted by the birth of his grandchild, he divorced Patty. Now he is trying to make up for the lost time with his daughter. The Broken Kaleidoscope is set to be made into a movie, and I have begun writing a sequel. My experiences seem to be a light for others suffering similarly. Every day, I receive letters from readers saying, "Your story gave me courage." My words, which depict the healing process of a wounded heart, might be helping others. This makes the suffering I endured feel slightly redeemed. David remains my understanding and supportive partner. Thanks to him, I continue to grow both as a writer and as a woman. Sometimes, I think about Becky. She has finished her sentence and is receiving counseling. Direct contact with me is forbidden. But she has sent an apology letter through her lawyer. Reading it, I felt for the first time that I understood her suffering. While I can't forgive her yet, I realize she too was a victim of a dysfunctional family relationship. And now, my child sleeps in my arms. Seeing this child smile inspires me to continue building a loving environment.